In American period, Filipino writers used all forms of literature such as news reporting, poetry, short story, plays, essays, and novels.
What makes American literature unique? American literature has been developed through the various influence of Native American traditions. Before writing was introduced coupled by influencing thought about European conquerors. Initially, American literature was composed of report and documentation of complaints and status quos of the people in the New World. Writing and literature served as a means of influencing policymakers in developing the civilization, exploring the natural resources, and understanding the tradition and culture of the Native Americans. Over time, American literature evolved into various forms with fiction and non-fiction categories, illustrating writers' sentiments of matter concerning politics, economy, culture, social status using artistic imagery of fictional resources. American literature further developed into its own form, growing away from its essential spheres of influence. English literature using the 7th century, creating a unique American characteristic and promoting the individualism.
The Thomasites arrived in the Philippines on August 12, 1901, to establish a new public school system, to teach basic education and to train Filipino teachers, with English as the medium of instruction. The Philippines had enjoyed a public school system since 1863, when a Spanish decree first introduced public elementary education in the Philippines. However, the Thomasites expanded and improved the public school system and switched to English as the medium of instructions. The name Thomasites was derived from the transport vessel, the USS Thomas, formerly Miniwaska, that brought them to the shores of Manila Bay. Although two groups of new American graduates arrived in the Philippines before the USS Thomas, the name Thomasite became the designation of all pioneer American teachers, simply because the USS Thomas was the largest contingent. Later, batches of American teachers were also dubbed as the Thomasites.
Examining literary works from class in understanding the meaning of American literature through different literary works by early writers, we can define American literature initially as a body of works chronicling the discovery and acquisition of the Native Americans in its early beginnings. In relation to the events taking place in the American society, literature in the continent slowly evolved with time, influencing its writers and readers. The socio-economic norms coupled with the author's artistic expressions during the specific time of writing. American literature can be considered a mirror of Americans' history, well-being, and characteristic. It is considered a part of the American culture for it details not only the history of the American people, but also reflects the people's creative thoughts and imaginations. American literature is the product of influences brought about by the colonizers from Europe and subtle native traditions of the early settlers of the United States. It's also a powerful defining tools of American characteristics such as liberalism and individualism.
The use of English as medium of instruction introduced Filipinos to Anglo-American modes of thoughts, culture, and life pace that would be embedded not only in the literature produced but also in the psyche of the country's educated class. It was this educated class that would be the wellspring of a vibrant Philippine literature in English. Philippine literature in English as a direct result of American colonization of the country could not escape being imitative of American models of writing, especially during its period of apprenticeship. The poetry written by early poets manifested studied attempts at versification as in the following poem, which is proof of the poet's rather elementary exercise in the English language.
The poem was anthologized in the first collection of poetry in English Filipino poetry, edited by Rodolfo Dato 1909 to 1924. Another anthology, the English-German Anthology of Poets Edited, a third pre-war collection of poetry, was edited by Carlos Bulusan, Chorus for America. 6 Philippine poets. The 6 poets in this collection were Jose Garcia Villa, Rafael Zulieta da Costa, Rodrigo T. Feria, C.B. Rigor, Cecilia Baroga, and Carlos Bulusan. The nationalism of the people did not waver as many Filipino writers picked up their pen again and ventured into various genres of literature. The essay amply demonstrated their love of country and desire for freedom. When the University of the Philippines was founded in 1908, an elite group of writers in the English began to exert influence among the culturati. The UP Writers Club, founded in 1926, had stated that one of its aims was to enhance and propagate the language of Shakespeare. In 1925, Bas Marquez Benitez's short story, Dead Stars, was published and was made the landmark of the maturity of the Filipino writers in English.
The pioneers wrote humorous works about the American frontiers, while some wrote romantic and nature-inspired poetry, which developed away from the early English origins. How My Brother Leon Brought Home a Wife, written by Manuel Arguila, showed the scenery folkways of Ilocanja. The stories of N.V.M. Gonzalez boasted the scenery and customs and tradition of Mindoro, while depicting the characters in the human dilemma of nostalgia and poverty.
Short stories which investigate earlier concealed levels of human psychology and move forwards the limits of fiction towards mystery and fantasy were written. The movement of transcendentalism, which was a protest to produce a state of culture and society, was formed in response to the growing desire of American literary uniqueness. Through this formation, radical writings towards individualism in the American character emerged. Native American autobiographies were also developed and minority authors began to publish fictions. Allegories and dark psychology became the focus of literary romances, set with philosophical assumption. Dark romanticism became popular in American writings, presenting the character as prone to sin and self-destruction.
Spy Mission. Waka 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 waka.